I was a sophomore in high school when 9/11 happened, and you know, being in that classroom and watching the towers get hit, obviously, like millions of other guys that have joined, it sparked something in me. And I made up my mind as a sophomore that I wanted to join. So when the time came, I enlisted. It was just a calling. I came in 2004, you know, went through infantry school, did all that, ended up getting stationed in Germany with the 1st Infantry Division. And then May 14, 2006, that's the day kind of where my military career came at a halt. That's the day that I got injured and kind of changed everything for me. We went out on patrol, a 5-vehicle convoy. I was the 3rd vehicle, and I was the gunner. At this point, I'd been in there for about 11 months. So I knew the area like the back of my hand. That was one of the things that, you know, we did a lot, was learn the area, know where you're at all times, just in case something happens, you're able to get back or get your team back. We went over this bump. I was trying to process what that bump was, just because I knew that wasn't there before. And as soon as we went over it, the loudest IED I've ever heard in my life went off. And at this point, I've been blown up about 11 times, so I've been in several, and this was by far the loudest. Vehicle went up about 6 feet in the air. There was about 200 and some pounds of explosives that they had actually dug from one of the houses into the middle of the street, and they started packing it. When we came down, as I was in the gun, the vehicle hits the ground, my legs give out, I fall down, and I was laying on Specialist Harkey's lap. And I remember looking at him, and his eyes were just white. I mean, Harkey had died on the impact. And as I was laying there, I remember looking over to my left side, and Fleming was on fire, and he opened the door and jumped out, and I saw him just running in flames. It was so fast, yet so slow, like everything just kind of slowed down. And I saw him run, sort of the driver, he jumped out. I just remember feeling just this strength in my body, like something just kind of came over me. And even to today, like I give God 100% credit, because, you know, I believe he was telling me right then and there, like, not today, this is not what you die, get up. So I got up, and I'm in my 50 cal. There was enemy on the rooftop, and I took about 3 or 4 shots till the weapon jammed. It was so hot that the rounds were starting to cook off. So stuff was exploding in our Humvee. Well, at this point, I'm still on fire, and I jumped to the side, and when I jumped down, I broke both my femurs. So finally, one of the guys came over, put me out with a fire extinguisher. I managed to grab my M4, and I started seeing enemy on the rooftop, so I started shooting as I was laying there. One of the guys ran by me, and he looked down, and he's like, "Are you alive?" And I remember just looking at him and be like, "I think so." And then he's like, "Oh, gotta get you some help." And I was like, "Okay." I think my legs are broken. And he looks at me, he goes, "No, you're fine. Let's get you up." And I said, "Okay." So we get up, and I just didn't feel right. I knew my legs were broken, so I put a lot of my weight on him. He finally gets me to the next Humvee that had moved forward. He goes, "All right, man, I'm gonna let you go a little bit. I gotta open the door." And I was like, "Okay." So he opens the door, and all my weight went back on my legs, and they broke again. And I just remember seeing him, the Humvee in the air, and then I just saw like the sky. And I just remember that air that hit me as I was doing that. It was just the smell, and I would never forget just that awful, awful smell. And I hit the ground, and he comes over me, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "Dude." And I was like, "I told you my legs were broken." I had so much adrenaline in my body that I couldn't feel the pain. It wasn't a factor at the time. So he gets me up, he sits me inside the Humvee. We had lost quite a few guys, and we were getting replacements. And one of the replacements was one of the drivers. And it was his first day in theater, first day going out, first day everything. And he was panicking a little bit. I can't blame the guy. He was scared, and he was kind of screaming a little bit. So I did what anybody else would have done. I reached over and I slapped him and told him to shut the up. So he gets me the headset, and I start calling up to the company. I start telling the company, like, "Hey, I got 1 KIA, 1 killed in action. I got 4 WIs, wounded in action. We need medevacs as soon as possible. We need to get these guys out of there." And as I'm doing that, the medic jumps in, and he grabs my arm and starts working on me and gives me an IV, and, you know, he just starts treating me. And out of nowhere, I just remember looking at him, and I said, like, "Dude, I need some water." I remember I did the biggest mistake of my life. I poured it over my head, and all the chemicals and the dirt and everything fell into my eyes. I remember just going blind. I remember grabbing the driver and I said, "Where are we at in the formation?" I remember telling him, "We're the first vehicle." I say, like, I can't see, I can't panic. This guy's new and we're in the front. I need to lead everybody back. So we started going, and I started giving directions. Like I said, I just started playing everything in my head. And I just remember having my eyes closed. I mean, I couldn't see, and I just remember everything. And I told him, "All right, man, you're gonna go straight." I was like, "In about a quarter of a mile, you're gonna take a left." I was like, "There's a greenhouse in that corner." And he goes, "I see it." And I said, "Take that left. You're gonna see the cop coming up. It's the operation base we were at." I said, "You're gonna see it coming up." And he goes, "I see it, I see it." I was like, "Tell me when we're about 300 yards away." And he goes, "We're about 300 yards away." So I called in, I said, open the gates, here we come." And we roll in. As soon as we roll in, all the medics were waiting on us. I just remember asking for morphine, because at that point, when I saw the other guys coming in, I knew that they were there and they were safe, and I relaxed. And when I relaxed, you know, the adrenaline went away and the pain started coming, and I felt it. I mean, it was by far the most excruciating pain I've ever suffered in my life. May 16th, we were in San Antonio, Texas, getting treated for our burns and everything else. And as a result of that, I sustained 75% burns to the body. I was in an induced coma for about 3.5 months. They actually told my parents to start making arrangements for a funeral because they didn't think I was gonna make it. The turning point for me was, and honestly, I don't remember this, but my brother was and his girlfriend were pregnant at the time with my niece, and it was my first niece, first granddaughter for my parents, everything. And her mom used to come into my room and put my hand in her stomach, and she used to be like, "You need to survive, you need to survive. Haley wants to meet her uncle, Haley wants to meet her uncle." And so I finally wake up from that, and Haley's born, and I wanted to see her so bad, but I couldn't. They couldn't bring her into the ICU because of all the stuff that was, all the bacteria and stuff. And so they challenged me to start walking, get out of bed, and go into the visitor center to see her. And I did for about 3.5, 4 months. That's all I did. I did PT twice a day. I mean, like, it was like religion. I was on it every single day. Finally, I was like, "Okay, guys, I can walk to the visitor center." And they're like, "Okay." So I did. I walked on my own. They had no straps holding me, nothing. I walked in there, and I was smoked, and I sat down. And when I sat down and my brother put Haley in my arms, it was just like life-turning. It was one of those things where I looked at her face and I was like, this is why I'm here. Like, I need to be there for her. I need to be there when she graduates high school, when she graduates college, when she gets married. Like, this is why. And because of her, I push forward, I do what I do, and share my story, and I motivate others, and use what happened to me to help others. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but I can't sit here and complain and like, "Oh, I got another surgery." I mean, I look forward to them now because I know if I have that surgery, it's gonna open up my hand, or it's gonna do something that's gonna help me. It's gonna improve my life. If you're going through a hard time, ask for help. I've told this a million times to different people. It's not a sign of weakness asking for help. It's actually a sign of strength, because it takes a lot of courage to ask for help. Surround yourself with other people that think alike, that aren't gonna baby you, that are gonna push you to be better, that are gonna not look at you, at your disability, and be like, "Well, you can't do that." And it's gonna be like, "No, yes, you can, and I'm gonna push you so you can get it done."